ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and the weekend is here. It's the Friday morning early edition of the Breakfast Bankroll. Good friend and colleague, Mr. Scotty Webb, live from Tampa. I'm live from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, as we get you ready for a good college football slate tonight, 3 games in all, and then of course the epic Saturday with a lot of marquee games, and of course NFL Sunday. This is the day again, guys. What we're trying to do is Monday weekend recap, re-entry Monday as we like to call it. Tuesday, the opening numbers, the overnight numbers, the current numbers, maybe a couple in-pocket plays. And then, of course, Thursday night football, more in-pocket plays, and then, of course, get it all tuned up here for Friday. MLB, last 3 days, the pennant races couldn't be any tighter. The Ryder Cup, the kind of comical. The Europeans were plus 170 in some shops. USA minus 150, home game at Bethpage, New York, and it was supposed to be, I'm a numbers guy, and the number made 0 sense to me because on paper, I really thought the Europeans actually pound for pound dominated the USA side, and currently the Europe is up 3-1 right now, which would be devastating for the USA if they started. They got whitewashed in Rome 2 years ago. They started the Friday morning down 0-4 and never caught up. If they go and lose 3-1 in the morning, Keegan Bradley and the USA's contingent could be in deep doo-doo. First and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. Travis, Zach, Guy, myself, Amber Hawley, Carol Bucks, Matthew, Allen. The list is endless. Just come on board, enjoy the ride. Go over to wagerwire.com, download the app, jump on over to X to WagerWire, follow along. Have some fun there. And of course, AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. I spoke to Terry Smith yesterday. Big things coming with us. He'll be back on with us either Monday or Tuesday morning. Of course, talking about Georgia, Alabama, the Atlanta Falcons, and the demise this year of the Atlanta Braves. Head on over to AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Steaks, seafood, chops, appetizers, wines. Terry's got it all. He's got 4 subscription plans. Do what I do. Check the box which one best sets you up for the month, and every 30 days Terry will send you a box of protein. The only thing is that you'll need is a spare propane tank. Without further ado, Mr. Scotty Webb. What's up, champ?
Hey, man. So, Mr. Always respect the opening number. I got one for you.
Go ahead.
So Saturday, right? College football Saturday. Bowling Green, Ohio opens at -11. Look what the line is today. It is Ohio -7.5. I don't think I just say this out loud. I don't think, and I think you obviously agree with me, but I don't think that the sports books missed their opening numbers that far. And I'm trying to bet it right now. I think there's value on Ohio -7.5 right this minute.
Well, I would say two things. Check the injury report. A 3.5 point move might mean a quarter.
Navarro's their quarterback. He's playing.
Okay. Number two, I've explained this. We're on our 10th season here. I learn every day. That's what makes us unique here. In other words, I got this big spaghetti strainer, and I got this memory here where I listen and I learn. And then during the day, the night, I might wake up and I'll replay the tape in my head. I'm like, oh shit, okay, I get it now. And my point is here is two things everyone here watching and listening has to remember. On Thursday nights, I call it the oil money comes running in to Vegas. It's the big boys from Texas. So moving forward, everyone that sees a big line on a team from Texas, the Dallas Cowboys, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that's called the oil money that came in on Thursday to Las Vegas. And on Friday, it's the gold rush. It's the California money. So keep an eye like on the USCs and the California teams. Cal travels to BC this week. Tomorrow I will be at the Heights at 6:30 a.m. It's a 3:30 kickoff. I got to set up almost 90 tents for the tailgate there. That ought to be fun. But my point is, again, the gold rush, the California money, the weekend warriors start funneling in to Vegas tonight for the weekend. And now you got a MAC game that again is with the slate that we have this weekend, as my dad would once say, may he rest in peace. It's the pimple on the ass of progress game that no one, and that's one of our specials. Find the one in the weeds. Anyone can go out and do Alabama, Georgia, and all the marquee games. It's the smaller ones, the less traveled, that we can find the nuggets, Scotty.
Yeah, and it makes no sense to me. Like I'm pretty, I was born and raised in Ohio, and I've lived in Florida, but I've lived here now longer than I lived in Ohio. But so I'm very familiar. I've played baseball games, and I've played stuff at some of these colleges. I've played at the Ohio University down there in Athens, and I've played at Bowling Green, and I've played at some of these places. So I'm familiar with them. I know. Former Ohio State football players to coach it over at Bowling Green, right? So Bowling Green has no offense, and the defense isn't that very good either. And Ohio's played Ohio State and some of these other teams. I think they're way more battle tested. Not that Bowling Green hasn't played some tough teams, but I look at this game and I don't know how Bowling Green's going to stop them. A, and then B, I don't think Ohio is the greatest team in the world, but at the same time, it's the MAC. They don't have to be the greatest team in the world. They just have to be a good team. And I think, that they played Ohio State halfway decent for a little while. I think this is one of those spots where somebody's got something going on, something's wrong, and trying to capitalize on it. I don't think it'll get to 7. So the sports books aren't that off that much. So, if people are out there betting this line down to 7.5, I think it's a mistake.
Yeah, and 7.5 at Caesars, 7.5 at the Hard Rock, 8.5 at ESPN Bet. Currently at the Circa. Good morning, Mr. Benson and Mr. Stevens. 8 minus 10 cents. Kind of neutral right now which direction that goes. Let's start here. Some things never change. Go back to the Arizona Cardinals. They opened up 6.5 point favorites at New Orleans, and they win by 7. They come home to the Carolina Panthers. I think had a 27-6 lead going in the late third quarter. Fourth quarter, Panthers scored 3 times, and they get the backdoor cover. Arizona goes to San Fran last weekend, and because of a safety, cover the game as San Fran gets the walk-off field goal. Short rest. Here comes Seattle. Hard-fought loss opening day at home to those 49ers. Traveled to Pittsburgh and just up and down mocked the field with the Steelers. Come all the way back home and put up a 40-burger against the Saints. Go down to Arizona, Desert Swarm. What do I see? An Arizona team currently in disarray. Marvin Harrison Jr. ends up 6 for 66 and a late touchdown, but just disengaged, just going through the motions. I saw that last year. He is not his father at this point. A Seattle team defense is very, very good. But where I'm going with this, Scotty, well coached, and Sam Darnold picked up where he left off, leaving Minnesota and headed to Seattle. Hats off to Sam Darnold, really maturing, and I'll compare him to like a Baker Mayfield right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm looking at the stats for that game right this second, and Sam Darnold. The other interesting thing to me in that game is Arizona had 55 plays on offense, and Seattle only had 32. But EPA per play, Sam Darnold is the dark green, 0.47 to the good. Total EPA was 14.9, and then Murray looks like he's like a guy who runs around and just throws the ball. That's all he wants. He just wants to run around he looks so little out there doing it. He's just funny looking. Anyway, he was negative 0.4, minus 2.1 on EPA, and you're never gonna win. You're never gonna win these games, and especially in the NFL. Your quarterback has to be good. And you can't go out there and be what is that, like 10 times worse in terms of stat data than the other quarterback and expect to win. It's amazing they were even tied in the football game. Like at the end it's 20-20. They have 2 drives, and that's, I think we talked about this at the very beginning. There's only certain number of drives each one of these teams get. It's usually somewhere between 7 to 10 drives the entire game. That's all they get, and 10's a high number. So efficiency on offense is critical, and you can't waste one series. And I see him, Kyler Murray anyway, wasting series after series after series, and you got Harrison there, and if you can't catch the ball, you drop the ball, you're wasting series. And in the NFL, as opposed to college football, which is there's some to the degree of this as well, but that's only when 2 good teams play each other. In the NFL, they're all good teams, they all play each other, and if you're not efficient on offense, you're not going to win the games. So that leads you to start to look for great defenses that can stop and make offenses less efficient, and then be in a situation where if you have a great offense and it's way more efficient than the other team, you've got edges, right? You've got edges, and that's kind of how I start looking at NFL games.
It'll be interesting to see again now. Arizona on a 2-game losing streak, have some extra rest here. Here comes Seattle now, 3-1. 49ers undefeated right now, and I think the 49ers, Scotty, and the Rams are in tricky spots. The Jacksonville plays. Let me see here. Let me go down to it so I don't screw this one up here. Rams host an undefeated Indianapolis team. And Jacksonville travels to San Francisco. And why I say they're both, San Francisco and the Rams are in tricky spots, is because they play each other on Thursday night. And so if one of the, I think deep down one of these 2 teams will lose. Whoever loses on Sunday will probably win on Thursday. I'm just playing the mental, Jedi mind tricks here. But both teams can't get caught looking ahead to Thursday night's matchup.
Well, I think if we use that formula to a degree and say which team is more likely to lose this week, I'm going to say it's the Rams. And the reason I say that, it's not because because Jacksonville's terrible. It's because I think Brock Purdy coming back, and I don't know. I'm still hearing that he's probably going to play, so I don't know if he is or not. But I'm hearing that he's playing this week. If Brock Purdy plays, I think that gives them a little bit more of an edge, and I think that gives that team a little bit of we got a player back. It makes them feel a little better about what's going on because they keep dropping like flies out there. So I think that helps them. So if we use that theory, then I think the Colts. And looking at my where is it? NFL. There we go. And I just did this a second ago. So the Colts they rank second in offense in EPA. They're third in defense in EPA, and their quarterback is the fourth best quarterback in football right now. So when you start to think about it, that's a pretty damn good team, and they're playing the Rams, who are sixth in offense, sixth in defense, and their quarterback's 13th. So when you start putting the bigger picture together, if you were going to say one team has a shot at losing, I think it's the Rams more so than it is the 49ers.
And everyone knows here, you know this, I'm a numbers guy. I trust and respect opening numbers. I follow the market, yada, yada, yada. I try to leave my heart at the door every day. And where I'm going with this, I tried to stay off the emotional train. When you try, must wins don't mean must wins, but that's how the brain is trained here in sports when you're investing and wagering on them. And great comeback wins and tough losses. And you look at the Rams here, who are lining up for a walk-off field goal in Philadelphia, where they were dominating for 3 quarters, and yet blocked, and Philly runs it back for the cover. But my point is here, now they got to get back up. They are home SoFi against a team, Indianapolis, who is undefeated, knowing the Rams know they got the 49ers on deck here. A tough bounce back spot for the Rams emotionally.
No question. I would say this, these older quarterbacks in the NFL, you've got Matthew Stafford out there, and he's probably not going to put you in positions to lose the game very often. He's going to be pretty good about what formation to be in and audible out and put the right plays in and things like that. But when you watch them play, and I say older, I'm going to put Patrick Mahomes in that same category because he's getting up there a little bit now. They're not the same as Josh Allen. They're not the same as the quarterback in Baltimore. They're not like those guys. They're older. So are they still bad? Are they still good? Look, they're good quarterbacks, but if you're gonna not that they can't do it, but if you're gonna sit there and survive on them being the catalyst to come back and win games, I think you're in trouble a little bit. So I kind of think that I like the Colts this week. I haven't bet them yet, but I like them. I've got them on my sheet to kind of look. The 2 games that stood out to me in this week, I still like the Bucks this week. I can't get past that, and sometimes I don't like to do that because I'm right here in Tampa. I don't want to bet the Bucks because maybe I'm getting shaded or whatever. But I like the Bucks in this spot. They're plus 3.5. If it was 3, I wouldn't take them, but it's a half point in the NFL. 3.5 is a big number. And the other one that stood out to me was I think the Washington Commanders going in to play Atlanta is a spot where I know Atlanta needs to win these games, but Michael Penix is graded as the 27th best quarterback out of 32 teams, and their defense, their offense ranks 27th. Their defense can keep them in the game per se, but it's 1 point. Just okay. Let's take the Commanders on the money line and say, okay, they just got to win the game. I think that one was one that stood out to me, and a couple other spots I was kind of looking at in the NFL. And this is going to sound really terrible. I think the Jets, if the Jets can get to +3 against Miami, I think that's a play. Tyrod Taylor has played pretty well in his replacement efforts for the quarterback there from the Jets. So you take him, and then they're even between the Jets and the Dolphins. And I think you could say that the Jets defense is better than the Dolphins defense. And then offensively, the Jets ranked 24th and the Dolphins ranked 23rd. So they're kind of the same team. And when it comes to quarterbacks, Tyrod Taylor ranks 11th. Not that he's going to stay that way, but he ranks 11th, and Tua ranks 22nd. So I think that's probably a spot where if it can get to 3, maybe it gets to 3.5. I don't know. I would want 3, and then the other one that I think is, I think you got to bet. I think you absolutely have to bet against the Bengals every week, and the Bengals just bet against them. Just flat out bet against them. Their offense is dead last in football. The defense is in the bottom third of football. The quarterback play is in the bottom third of football. I think you just bet against the Bengals every week. But I would want -6.5 if I can get it. It's right now, 7, I think.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting again. What does the public do when they run to the window on Sundays or standalone games? Favorite and over. We haven't seen the real Denver team show up just yet, number one. Number two, getting back to that Washington-Atlanta game, an Atlanta team, I think they lost 30-0 at Carolina. Washington, 2 big question marks, of course. Jaden Daniels, number 1. Terry McLaurin, number 2. I'm just reading through the tea leaves. A guy that held out, that finally got paid, and now all of a sudden he's got hamstring quad issues, seeing specialists. I don't expect McLaurin to play, and I don't know if Jaden Daniels will play. Mariota stepped in and did fine there. There was one other thing I wanted to bring to the table in the NFL, and of course my brain is not clicking here at this one. You're absolutely right. Talk about respecting the opening number. Philly opened up at 3.5, and I said that to you on Monday. I can't figure it out why. 2 undefeated teams. Philly with the walk-off miracle on Sunday. Last time they were there, they got absolutely blasted in the playoffs against your Bucks here. Baker Mayfield has willed the Bucks to 3 wins here at Atlanta, at Houston, and then dominated the Jets game, let them back in, and then come from behind to beat them there. So I'll keep an eye on that. Getting to Mahomes again. I talk about this. That line didn't open at 3.5. It opened up Ravens 2.5. If it was 3.5, I'd be on the Ravens. I think the whole public will be on the Ravens here because one of these teams are going to 1-3. But the sense of urgency on the Chiefs side here is the fact that if they lose and go to 1-3, and let's say the Chargers win, the Chargers will then be 4-0, 3-0 in the division, 1-0 against Kansas City. I don't think the Chiefs, if they lose on Sunday to Lamar and the Ravens, will bounce back, where if the Ravens lose into 1-3, I think they're just chasing Pittsburgh, who will be 9-8, 8-9, and I still think Lamar and company will get to 11 or 12 wins.
Yeah, well, it's sort of evident in the next week's schedule. Houston, the look ahead is Houston plays at Baltimore next week, and Baltimore's -9.5 in the look ahead. And the Monday night game next week is Kansas City at Jacksonville. So Kansas City's getting beat up on the schedule a little bit, traveling and doing all the stuff and road games and weird times. But they're 3.5 favorites out there. So and they should be. But my point being too, I think that that game is a big game for Kansas City more so than it is Baltimore. It's a must win for Kansas City. The following week, the Commanders are at the Chargers. So, we'll see. We'll see how that kind of plays out. The Chargers opened those 3 straight games against the AFC West, and then what do they got this week? They got the Giants. So this, I'm a little worried about the Chargers this week. Not because of anything more than I think it's a letdown spot for them. If they play the Giants at the Giants, it's kind of a bigger number. I expect them to win the game. This is Jackson Dart's first start, right? I saw a report that Russell Wilson retired last night. So I don't know if that's a fact. Sometimes you start looking at these things that come across and you go, now, where did that report come from? I don't know if I trust it or not. In the middle of the night, he's going to retire. Come on. So it's one of these things where you sit there and you go, well, it's just not a good spot for the Chargers, and maybe we'll see. So I don't know what Jackson Dart's going to do in his first start. I don't know if he's going to run around like Kyler Murray does, or if he's going to be more like a Bo Nix back there. I don't know, but I can tell you. When I look at you'll like this. If I go looking at the quarterbacks and the grade of the quarterbacks, and this grade is based off of, this is the EPA per play, right? So you have successful EPA. And then it also has completion expected over average. So how accurate your completions and stuff. And it's a combined report. It's a combined number. The best quarterback in that is Jared Goff. He's the very best quarterback. And that's a lot because of what he did last week. I mean, he did a lot, it was only 4 games. But it was big for him last week. The worst quarterbacks, Jeff, are Michael Penix, Charlie Ward, Trevor Lawrence, Jaden Daniels, Joe Flacco, Bryce Young, Stroud, Nix, Browning, Tua, just like you think they would be. I mean, those are the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. And the best quarterbacks, like I said, the younger these guys are and the better they are, the younger, you're looking at Goff, Jackson, Sam Darnold, Jones, Allen, Love, your quarterback, May, Hurts, Mayfield, Prescott. Where are some of these guys that we just talked about? The Rams quarterback is 13th on this list, and Mahomes is 15th on this list. So I sit there and start to think about those guys are starting to fall to more medium, regular level numbers. Aaron Rodgers is in that category, right? And these younger guys are the ones carrying the NFL.
And guys, don't forget 9:30 a.m. Eastern. There's a game in Ireland. The Steelers and the Vikings. Steelers really did open up -1, guys. Vikings -2.5 after their thumping against the Bengals. And
so here's a good point on that game. That's a weird that people might not really realize is the Vikings offense ranks 28th in football. That's not good. And you're going to sit here and tell me they're a favorite? Well, it's because their defense ranks number one, and they're going to play a Steelers offense that ranks 18th, and the Steelers defense hasn't been good. They rank 23rd. So when you start to think about it, this is a pretty close matchup, but I always side with the defense, not the offense. So I would side with Minnesota in this game as long as you can stay under the 3. Maybe it'd be all right. But then here again, I like the head coach in Minnesota too. I think he's been doing a good job. Not that the head coach in Pittsburgh for years hasn't, but he's been taking these average teams and keeping them a little bit above average. But at some point you got to win with offense, and their defense hasn't been good enough. So I think I don't know what to get from Carson Wentz. I mean, his first game wasn't terrible, but maybe that head coach puts him in those spots to do pretty well. And, maybe he hasn't been able to be in those spots. And I think, if he can do that, good for the Vikings. And here we go.
Yeah, Steelers have been an every other week team. They win at the Jets, 32-30 or something like that. They come home, get lambasted by Seattle. Then the Steelers travel to New England and probably should have lost that game. Now they travel to Ireland. We saw the reason Minnesota is basically almost asked last in offenses. We saw 7 quarters of suck and 1 good quarter from McCarthy. O'Connell came out this week and says don't expect McCarthy back at any time soon. It's the defense, and I think you're right. We know there's a Carson Wentz blow up coming at some point, but I think O'Connell has put in his ear, hey, you want to play? Just don't turn the ball over. You see the defense that we got behind you. Oh, by the way, we have Justin Jefferson. Oh, by the way, Jordan Addison comes back this week as well. Pieces back. So just let the defense win. Don't turn the ball over there. We got a few, we got some time still left. I'm going to go back to your in-pocket plays for the weekend that we released yesterday. Houston minus 13 plays tonight. As they travel to Oregon State. Kansas minus 5, North Texas minus 13, Iowa State minus 6, Tennessee minus 7, and of course in the whiteout game, Oregon plus 3.5. Scotty, would you like to add anything to your plays, your selections? We broke down a handful of games on Game on Paper yesterday before we go into maybe another game or two and wrap things up for the week.
Well, like I said yesterday, I had 2 specific spots where I thought, that were good, and I might still pull the trigger on this one. I like Pittsburgh plus the 4.5 this week against Louisville. And, looking at that game and how it kind of breaks out and so forth, I think Pittsburgh can win outright. So I like that game. I just didn't put it on the list because, in grading out the list and kind of where I thought the hierarchy of the game to go, it falls in right after that. So, if you were to look at my list and go, hey, what do you like best? Well, the way I graded it is I got North Texas as being my best bet on the board right there, and then Iowa State, and then Tennessee. So it kind of falls in line with some of this stuff. So as I'm looking at these games, I really think that it's kind of one of the spots. And then, like I said, Ohio just popped up on my screen today, and I'm going to do a little bit more research. So sometimes when I see a big number swap like that, I think one of these key syndicate groups just released a play, and people jumped on it and they moved the number by 2 points or whatever. So I trust me, I don't have any problems going against any of these syndicate guys and betting against whatever they release. And especially a game like this, where I think if the line opened at 11 and now it's now 7.5, I think there's a problem there. I mean, I know people pay for these picks and they pay a lot of money, so they dive right in, and then the sports books change the numbers and try to compete against that. But the reality is, I think that's way too much of a move, and you kind of go from there. So Parker Navarro is a good quarterback for Ohio, and he's going to play a level of competition that let me pull that game up for a second. Noon. There's noon games. And noon, Ohio. Bowling Green and Ohio. There we go. So if I go over here and then I look at Ohio, for example, Ohio's quarterback, he's thrown for almost 1,000 yards already, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They got a guy that's already run the ball for over 300 yards, and another guy, Parker Navarro, for 289 yards. So I mean, they've got multiple offenses there. But Ohio has played Rutgers, right? And Rutgers beat Ohio 34-31 in that game. And then they played West Virginia. Well, they beat West Virginia, Ohio, 17-10. They played Ohio State 37-9. That's pretty good for Ohio. And then they played Gardner Webb and beat Gardner Webb 52-35. So now they get Bowling Green. Well, Bowling Green is a team that really, really struggles on offense. If you look at where they're at, like at that top, the middle top right there, it says Bowling Green offense against the defense for Ohio. Now, granted, these are both purple, right? And this isn't the greatest thing in the world. They're both purple, which means they're not good. But there's the only thing that's good on offense for Bowling Green is the starting field position, for God's sakes. That's it. And nothing else. That's that bright green spot that you see on offense for Bowling Green. And then when you go down to the bottom there and you start to look at Ohio offense versus the defense for Bowling Green, Ohio offense is green. And the defense is either purple or it's clear. So I think this is kind of one of those spots where as long as they can overcome the field position and get themselves in a little bit better spots, there's no reason in the world why offense. I think Ohio can't deal with this game. Bowling Green, by the way, just kind of so you know, that their quarterback Drew Pines, he's 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 7 sacks. They got nobody that's got over 200 yards rushing, and they played Louisiana Lafayette. They played Cincinnati, got beat. They played Liberty, or not? They played Liberty, and they played Louisville, and Louisville beat them 40-17. So, they've been playing decent quality competition, but I would say that that the surprising game to me in that one basically is that they beat Liberty. Liberty's not what Liberty used to be. I mean, Liberty's head coach is gone, and the players that were on that team are gone. So these are guys that are now coming in, and they're not the same program as what they were. So I think this is just a spot where I think this is Ohio or nothing.
Before we wrap it up for the week, Scotty, I'm going to pull up probably one of the marquee games of the day for you. You can do your thing here. I'm going to pull up Alabama and Georgia. A game that currently, as we sit, let's see here. Survey says Alabama, Georgia, where are you? My eyes are not working, of course, today.
Towards the bottom.
There we go. 7:30 start. Rotation number 197, 198. Says Georgia opened up at 3.5. I didn't see any 3.5s. I saw 3s. At FanDuel, 2.5 with a 52.5. Across the Vegas Strip, flat 3s with a 53 at the Circa. There is a 2.5 at South Point and Hard Rock and ESPN Bet. Some money trickling in on Alabama. Let's just say this, guys. Alabama got caught chewing their food opening day in Tallahassee, 13-point favorites. Tommy Castellanos of Florida State, 2-10 last year. A chip on the shoulder and just steamrolled Alabama. Everyone wanted DeBoer fired. They come back home and they look like an elite team back home. But this team, the last few years without Saban, has been apples and oranges, home versus road. Now they're 2.5, 3-point dogs against a Georgia team that withstood the challenge, went to Knoxville and beat a real good Tennessee team. Now between the hedges, 7:30 start, not a 3:30 start, 7:30 start. Going to be a classic, Scotty. What do you say?
Well, I think we got to start with the idea that everybody thought that Alabama wasn't very good, but just backtrack before that game. Everybody thought Alabama was going to win the SEC. Okay, I mean they thought Alabama was this year. They were a top 5 graded out team. They thought they were going to be better than Georgia. That's the way it was prior to the season. If I were to look at my prognostication book of whatever that magazine, Pick Six, right? I think they have Alabama as being better than Georgia, and they do a lot of work with that company. So then Florida State beats them and beats them pretty handily everywhere around. And what was embarrassing in that loss, they got out physicaled in that game, and you don't usually see Alabama get out physical. So it was like, oh my God, this is a total setback, and drop Alabama power rankings and everything, just drop them way out of it. Well, the truth of the matter is, if we go look at this, and I pull up the profile for Georgia over there. Georgia, when you start to look at it, Georgia played Marshall, beat them 45-7. Well, that doesn't tell me anything because Marshall's terrible. I mean, they're one of the worst, schools. Then they went and played. I don't know who. I don't even know who APSU is. I'd have to go look at it. Maybe that's App State. I don't know if that's right or not. They beat them 28-6. So they struggled in that game. And then they played Tennessee 44-41. Truth of the matter is they should have lost that game. I mean, they completed a fourth down pass that then allowed them to score to go into overtime and won in overtime. So the way I see it is that Georgia should have lost that game, and now they're at home against Alabama. So good for Georgia that they won the game. But my opinion is going to be is I think the quarterback for Georgia is worse than the quarterback for Alabama. The quarterback for Georgia, he's got a good completion percentage, 73%. He's only thrown the ball for 750 yards. He's only got 4 touchdowns in the air. I mean, he hasn't thrown an interception, but he's got 4. And if you look at the kid now for Alabama, Simpson, I think is his name, right? Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson has over 862 yards passing, completion percentage 72%, 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. The kid's pretty good, and you got to remember that Florida State was his first game, so I think he's starting to settle in. And I think he's starting to get it right. So I like the quarterback for Alabama better than I like the quarterback for Georgia. So now when I start looking at the game and I start breaking down the game, the first thing that stands out to me is EPA per play. Alabama is plus 0.35 and Georgia's plus 0.23 total. Well, and they're both green, but then you subtract one from the other, and that's a plus 1.2. That means that Alabama is actually moving the football and stopping people from moving the football better than Georgia is. So theoretically, Alabama, North Star wise, is the better football team in this game than what Georgia is. And then you look at it from a yards per play perspective, it's not even close. Alabama ranks 19th. They're plus 2.48 yards per play. And Georgia plus 0.80. They rank 59th. So it's not even close in that category. And then available yards, again, all Alabama. So success rate, all Alabama. So Alabama dominates the major portions of this game. Alabama dominates it. It's not really even that close. And then when you start to look at the breakdown, EPA per pass offense for Alabama, they rank 9th. And defensively for Georgia, which obviously they ran into problems against Tennessee, they rank 97th. So that's where that bright green is at the top against the purple there. It's a mismatch when it comes to that. So Alabama just needs to keep the pressure off the quarterback, and then they're going to be in pretty good shape. And typically they do. Their offensive line is great. So EPA per rush, that's where Alabama struggles. Alabama doesn't run the ball well. Well, I don't remember if people talked about this because Kalen DeBoer, who coaches Alabama when he was at Washington, they were always talking about, well, he's only lost like 4 games his entire coaching career. Okay, that's it. And now he's with Alabama, and he had a struggle last season, and he lost his first game this season. Look, this guy's a good coach. He knows that if we struggle to run the ball, we have to figure out a way to move the ball. He'll navigate that, in my opinion. Not that Kirby Smart's not a good defensive coordinator type coach, but available yards, Alabama on offense. Field position, Alabama, and they're about even. Early downs, they're both about, it's early down success is what's going to be important in this game. And it's green for Alabama, which means that they're getting themselves to a point where on first down, second down, they're setting up short third downs. And if they can do that in this game, they're going to move the sticks. They're going to have success rate. And if you look at their offensive success rate, it's good, especially against the defensive success rate for Georgia. Georgia's success rate is 74th in the country, and against the pass, they're 101. Against the rush, they're 50. So they're average at best in that category. And of course, Tennessee skews that game a lot because they did so good against them. But offensively, I think you're going to see success from Alabama in this game. And then on defense, you remember we showed that offensively there was an advantage for Alabama. When you look at it this way, on defense, for Georgia, again, passing, they're 0.24 the EPA. Well, it's negative 0.18 for Alabama. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for those negatives. Very small, slight advantage for Georgia. On the run, it's, again, slight advantages for Georgia. And then when you look at available yards, it's Alabama. If Alabama stops teams from getting their available yards, Alabama stops them from getting good field position. Early downs, Alabama's great on early downs. That makes third and longs for Georgia. There's more potential in this game for Georgia to stop and start, have to punt, have to have 3rd and 8, have to have 3rd and 9. So I like Alabama not only to cover the game, I think they can win outright.
Well, it's, again, a marquee game here that we can't wait for here. Let me do this. Another week in the books, Scotty. As we wrap up here again, let me just do this. I'll screw this up one last time. See if this comes up here. In pocket plays for Scotty Webb. Houston -13 goes tonight at Oregon State. Kansas -5. North Texas -13. Iowa State -6. Tennessee -7. And Oregon +3.5 in the whiteout there. I'd say closing thoughts, but I'll just say it this way. I know it's a football show starting next week. At some point, we'll dig into the baseball. Again, Detroit saved the season. Big win. The Guardians, they come to Boston a half game back of the Guardians. Red Sox lose. It was kind of a must-win for Toronto. They saved the division at least as the Yankees and them are battling there. In the National League, Cubs versus Padres are already set. Dodgers, congrats, they win the division. So you got the Dodgers, the Brewers, the Phillies division winners, and it's Mets, Reds, and D-backs for that last spot. Closing thoughts on what you expect or hope to see, or thoughts on the MLB for this weekend?
I think I would be disheartened not to root for the Detroit Tigers. I mean, I want to see Detroit make the playoffs. And I only say that because it's not because I like Detroit. It's because they've been there all year long. They go through this struggle at the end, and they get knocked out by teams that get hot and come in. Now, the teams that get hot and come in certainly deserve to be there. But at the same time that I say that, I would be disheartened to not see them in. So I'm kind of hoping that Detroit gets in. I think that makes it a little bit better. I want to see Scooble pitch in the playoffs a little bit. I think that would be good. So when it comes to that, I'm good with that. In the National League, to be honest, I'm rooting against the Mets. At the beginning of the season to now, I thought the Mets were a sort of a Farsi kind of team. I'm hoping that somebody jumps in there. I don't know that that's going to happen, but whether it be the Reds or the Diamondbacks or whoever, I would really hope that somebody jumps in there just because I think that again, I don't know if that's better baseball, but it just seems to me that that this team's getting rewarded, and maybe just because there's some mediocre teams around it. The only thing I'd like to add, and guys, I don't know how many people we have watching, but live like this, I know it's early in the morning and stuff, but we've been averaging somewhere around 50, 60 people, maybe live, or maybe sometimes 35. And then when we get the show over, we end up with, I think yesterday we had over 200 views. So that's not a bad thing. But let me just say it this way, and so that everybody kind of gets this right. Jeff and I do this. We're not getting paid to do this. I'm trying to provide as much information as I can and help, but there's a purpose behind what we're doing, and eventually we do want to get paid to do this, right? So I mean, eventually this is kind of what we do, and we want to help. But the only way to make that work is the people that watch the show and like us. Look, I'm just going to say it the way it needs to be said. You absolutely need to hit the like button. You have to hit the subscribe button, because what happens when you do that, it helps us. The algorithm says, oh, these people like this show. Let's put it out there a little bit more so other people can see it. That's what happens. Now, the other thing that you need to do to help us is you need to hit the retweet buttons and the share buttons and the other stuff. This is a word of mouth endeavor. Well, in terms of word of mouth, it's not going to go anywhere unless you guys watching us, the mouths, do something to start showing it off. I think we have a lot of value to add. And I don't care if you guys have 50 followers, 10 followers, 2 followers, or 10,000 followers. Just help us get to some of these goals that we're trying to reach. That's all we're asking you for. Do you know how long it takes me to work on this stuff for you guys? I mean, I do it for myself for betting purposes, but this is an all day, every day endeavor. I mean, it just is. And in baseball, when I do all the baseball stuff, it takes me 6 hours to do the baseball games, just to put in the data. And when it's the football stuff like this, it's every day, all day. So it's not like I'm not working for you, because I am. And Jeff's doing the same thing. Guys, we need your help for you to help us. And I'm imploring you, not begging you, I'm imploring you to get to a point where you jump in here and help. And I get it. Look, I get it. You're gamblers. I'm a gambler. This stuff means nothing to you, but it means everything to me. It means everything to Jeff. So if you like us, click those buttons, do that every show, send it out every time you can, make comments, get in the chat groups, because engagement helps drive that algorithm too. The more questions you ask, look, I'm expecting you guys to jump on here and go, hey, can you break down this game? Hey, can you break down that game? Nobody's doing that yet. So, and the reason that nobody's doing it is we don't have enough viewership. If we have 1,000 people watching the show, there's going to be 6, 7 people asking those types of questions. I need you guys to be superstars of the show. You guys are the show, not us. We sit here and talk because nobody asks any questions. So get engaged, do the things that help this thing and drive it. Look, I did this last year, or maybe it was the year before, I don't remember. I did a baseball show for Jeff on this channel. And we started doing this stuff, and we started saying that stuff. Look, we were getting 200 live, 200. I think there was one day we had 1,000. We can do that with a football show because you guys love football. So come on, let's help each other out.
Click like, and again on X especially, just start retweet. We got to blast the algorithm. You can head on over to YouTube at East Coast Sports Investors. Subscribe, it's free. We're getting close to 12,000 subscribers there, but again, we're really with StreamYard is the platform that we use. We're able to go to 3, 4, 5 spots if we want live. YouTube, X, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch. We can go to them all here, but again, a big focal point for me the last 10 years has always been X or Twitter, and so we're asking for your help there. In about 15 minutes, I will be live on Andrew McGinnis's channel on Wager Talk, talking some MLB, talking some NFL, CFL, yada, yada, yada. And then 11 on this channel, get ready. Nick Hathcote is back to break down some NCAA. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one and only Mr. Scotty Webb at Webby20 MLB. Wish everyone a blessed day. Enjoy the weekend. Have some fun. Great weekend of sports, guys. And we'll see you next week.